the Solo Coach Podcast.
Hello, Rachel.
Hello. You okay,
Welcome.
David?
I am fantastic. Welcome to the Solo Coach Podcast. It is fantastic to have you here.
Thank you for having me and inviting me on. I feel very honoured.
Well, the honour and the pleasure is all mine. And a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of our listeners and watchers, wherever you are, whatever platform you're listening in on. Thank you very much for your listen, and thank you for joining us today. So, to introduce my guest today, I met Rachel Beck at a We Are in Business networking event, during which Rachel delivered an outstanding presentation all about vitamins, what they are, why they matter, and the benefits of taking vitamin supplements. I was really impressed both by Rachel's deep knowledge and passion for health and vitality, and also her backstory of what led her to starting her own business. Rachel is someone who has taken the path less followed and has had some really deep realizations about her life during an extended solo travel adventure. So we have lots in common, and we're going to come on to that in our conversation. But to get us started, Rachel, can you tell us more about what Vigor Vitamins is?
Okay, so I started Vigor Vitamins last April, so I've not been going for a massive amount of time, and I suppose I fell into it. How I like to say is I feel like the stars aligned. So Vigor Vitamins came about because I wanted to help specifically women, but men can take the vitamins as well, but specifically women through the time in their life where they're changing and potentially aging. So I turned 40, so I was going through that journey myself, and I launched a product which was like a multivitamin which would help women through perimenopause, menopausal years. So it's got all the vitamins in that you need daily, but then we added inositol, which helps with hormone regulation, really good for polycystic ovary syndrome as well, actually. And then we put some choline bitartrate in there as well, which helps with brain function, so the kind of brain fog side of it, and then maybe the recall, as I forgot what the word was, the recall side of things as well. So the Vigor Essential, our multivitamin that we started selling in October, was to try to help women through the stage of life that I was kind of coming up to, I suppose, or getting to. So yeah, that's why it started.
Thanks, Rachel. And there's obviously, as we've had a couple of really good conversations before today, and there's obviously quite a few different companies out there that provide multivitamins and vitamin supplements. I'm curious about what made you, what inspired you to set up your own vitamin company, and kind of what makes yours a bit different.
Yes. Okay. Well, there's probably two.
There's two questions there, isn't there?
Questions. Let me answer first, I suppose, how I came across it and why I started. So, oh God, going back a lot of years, I've always been on a wellness journey, I suppose. I'm sure everyone else is as well. But in my 20s, I had crippling anxiety. And I mean, like at some points, leaving the house was all a lot for me. So I'd get to, I don't know, go into town for some clothes shopping when I was like early 20s or mid 20s, and I would be having fight or flight type of panics. So over the years, I've tried to claw back from that, I suppose, to feel healthy. So I've always been on this wellness journey, I suppose. The last few years has taken me to kind of my anxiety had stopped and had kind of settled down a lot, and I'd fought for that to happen. But the last few years, I'd had some patterns in my life that were reoccurring, and so I was getting up to 40, and there were patterns that were not serving me. So things that I felt that were detrimental to me being happy, people pleasing being a massive one, and trying to sort everyone else rather than listen to my own gut. So I suppose I was trying to get back in line with knowing who I was, what my gut said, and what I wanted to do, and get back from feeling lost. Lost is probably the best word I can describe it as. So I was coming up to 40. I had just left my husband, who was a lovely man, but I just left him because it was not right for me. And then I was working in recruitment, and I have always wanted my own business. I never did university. I got the option when I was about 30 to do a management buyout in a business, which was all a lot and too much for me at the time. But I'd always had it in my brain that I would have a business. When I was asked as a child what I wanted to do when I grew up, I just wanted a briefcase. I know that sounds really random, but that's like the only thing that I could think of, which would be like, I do business, you know. And as a child, that's always what I said. So yes, I was in recruitment. I had come across a company who manufactured vitamins, and they're a local business. They're up in Ingleton, and I met a guy that reminded me of my dad, and he was needing a replacement for himself. He ran the business on a day-to-day basis, and he said, we need someone like you. And I kind of really admired this guy. I admired how he ran the business, how he did business. It was very old school. It was all face to face. It was building relationships. And I thought, if this company's been going 40 years and he's been at the helm for the last kind of 15, they're a good business. You know, they're a good company. So I ended up putting myself forward for this. Obviously, at the same time, I was on my health and wellness journey. I had started going to the gym a lot more. I'd started looking after myself diet-wise a lot more. I'd started taking supplements and vitamins, and I was on that path of, I don't know if there's a vitamin provider out there for me that fit with what I wanted as a vitamin. So anyway, I got down to the last 2 people for this job to run this manufacturing business, and they gave it to the guy that had run a manufacturing business before, which was probably a really good idea of theirs. So they gave it to this guy, but the guy that was leaving said to me, "Why don't we help you formulate your own vitamin brand? You do all the branding. We'll help you with the sciencey bit. You've obviously got a passion for it. We think you want your own business. You've mentioned a lot of times that you want your own business. We think you've got some really good ideas for branding. We think you'd be really good at, you know, managing a business, and we'd like to help you." Which was just the most amazing. I suppose somebody coming and saying, "Why don't you do this? We see something in you. Why don't you have a go at this?" So I did. The stars aligned, as I'd like to say. I'd got some money through from my house sale. I was leaving recruitment because obviously, if I was going for another job, it wasn't for me, and I was supported through this. So that's what I did. So I set up Vigor Vitamins. That was last April, and then from a brand perspective and what I wanted. So what I looked for in a vitamin company when I was looking was, I wanted it as clean as possible. The point of putting vitamins in your body is that they work and that they're effective and that they don't do you any more damage. So I really didn't want fillers. I didn't want any additives that weren't needed. Sometimes to put them through machines, you need a flow agent, but if there's a dual purpose flow agent that you can use instead, then perfect. So there was that side of things. I didn't want extra rubbish that didn't need to be in there. I didn't want any low quality materials or substances. They needed to be in the right form to deliver the nutrients to your body. So gummies were out because of flavorings, colorings, sugar, additive, you know, all of that. So that was out. Tablets are too hard pressed. So a lot of the time you pass them and not actually absorb them. And so capsules were the best form. So we started developing a capsule for a multivitamin, which again helped women through kind of menopausal or hormonal times as well. And I wanted them as organic and as clean as possible, and really importantly, made in the UK. So I don't have any issue with, importing things from other countries. But however, the quality standards are different country to country, and ingredients standards are different country to country. So I wanted to make sure that what I was putting in there, the quality was high, and that I was trying to plow into our own, system and own,
Mm,
um, yeah, our own country, really, because I feel like we import a lot of things which could actually be made here.
mm,
So, and we were, helping support like a local business as well. So that's what we did. And then I also really, really wanted, I'm quite eco-conscious. I would like to think that I'm not adding to any world problems, that I'm trying to aid that, as kind of heal as much of the planet as we can, rather than adding or contributing to the decline of it. So I wanted as eco-conscious packaging as possible. I didn't want to be using plastics. You see a lot in plastic bottles, and plastic bottles that are half empty. That just, I don't know if it's as a Yorkshire woman, but that just absolutely baffles me as to why someone would have a plastic bottle that big and only fill it that full. That it just absolutely baffles me. So we use a really clever biophotonic glass bottle, which we put a lot of thought into how we were going to, what we were going to put the product in. And then also we put a lot into thought about how we're going to ship it out, and how it gets to customers as well. So yes, does that answer both questions?
absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much for that story and that timeline. I've heard this story before, and you told it there beautifully. So I'm glad everyone else this time gets to hear it. But I
Good.
think the question that's coming to mind for me is, for someone who faced a lot of anxiety in younger
Yeah.
life, how has it been embarking on the incredibly, in my opinion, anxiety-provoking journey of
Yeah.
building your own business
Yeah.
several years later?
Um, that's a really good question, and it's strange, isn't it? Because we all experience anxiety in different ways and for different reasons. And my anxiety was driven probably from a lack of being able to let go or be open to my emotions. So my anxiety came from worrying about my own ability in certain situations. So it didn't actually come from, people normally get anxiety from standing up in a room full of people, or taking a chance on something. That's not where my anxiety is driven from. My anxiety was driven from really irrational, strange things of like, oh, I'm in a crowd of people, but then stood in front of a crowd of people talking would not bother me whatsoever. So I actually don't feel anxiety at all anymore, and I don't know if it's probably a healing thing and a self-worth thing now that I feel like I've learned from a lot of my experiences, and I've gained a lot of self-worth in the last few years. And I feel like that, and me listening to my own intuition and gut, I feel like that a lot more has subsided all my anxiety. So I don't actually worry about running my own business. I don't worry so much about plowing money into it, because I've plowed a lot of money into it. But that doesn't seem to bother me. And I know it should be the things that I'm worried about, but it's not. I feel quite safe and happy in the knowledge that if I'm providing a really good product to people, I've just got a bit of blind faith that it will work out. And I'm not saying I know when it will work out, and that it's going to make me a millionaire and within a certain time frame, but I feel like it will be okay. So I don't feel anxiety from that, really.
Thanks, Rachel. You mentioned there, and I know we had a discussion before a little bit about, in one of the challenges of being in business is knowing when to invest,
Mm,
what to invest in, how much to invest, and then
yeah.
also being able to have faith and keep faith when things are going well and then
Yeah.
not so well, in the roller coaster that is running a business.
Yes.
And I'd just like to know what are some of the other challenges and obstacles that you've encountered in starting and running your own business.
Yeah. Um, I feel the biggest challenge for me is keeping the faith that, and I know I'm quite confident now that I feel like it will work out. But initially, it was keeping the faith that it was going to be okay and that it was worth me plowing energy, time, money into. Um, and without again getting too deep and far too open, but I have always been quite good at things in life, and the stuff that I'm not very good at, I have just given up immediately. Now, with
Mm.
setting a business up, you don't get overnight success. You have got to show up, keep consistent, change where needed, stay humble, stay resilient, stay movable and flexible if needed to change tact or what have you. Um, and that's been the mental obstacle has been for me to not just within the first month go, oh, well, I'm not bloody selling anything, so I'll just give it up. And what has really helped with that is exercise and going to the gym. Um, because it's the same kind of thing that you're not going to get the results immediately. You've got to do another 8 reps
Mm.
within that set. And then you're going to have to do another 4 sets of the same amount of reps. And then you move on to another exercise that does 3 sets of the same amount of reps. And if you worried about it in 2 or 3 years worth of work, your head would explode. Whereas if you drill it down into, I'm just counting to 8 at the moment. I don't need to worry about the next stage. I don't need to worry about the next set or the next, lot of reps or when I go up in, weight that I'm lifting or whatever. I just need to count to 8. I just need to get through this 8 and count to 8. And that has really helped me to take it day by day. Yes, I think about the future and I try to plan, but I really do try to take it day by day and just deal with the chunk of work that's in front of me rather than worrying about the future. And
Mm.
hopefully try to enjoy the ride as I'm going along, which is, I suppose, the essence of trying to be happy, isn't it? Not worrying about the past, not worrying about the future, just trying to be in the moment. And I'm really working on trying to do that.
And thanks, Rachel. And I'm curious as to you mentioned earlier that sometimes you just know I'm terrible at this, so I'm going to stop doing it and go do something else.
Mm.
How do you differentiate between things that are an instant, no, I need to stop this right now,
Yeah,
and then the things that they're not necessarily delivering any of the you know, you're not getting any payback from them just yet, but
yeah,
you know that the chances are it's going to come in time, so they just need a bit more time and effort.
yeah. That's a good question, and I think you've got a gut feeling about it.
Mm.
So you need to really ask yourself the question and drill down as to why you're wanting to stop. So are you wanting to stop this because we go back to exercise again? Am I wanting to stop this because it feels really, really hard and it's not a nice sensation and a nice feeling? So if the answer is yes, I'm just getting tired. Whereas it's the same, I suppose, in the business. So if you think I don't want to do another social media post. I'm absolutely sick of doing social media, um, which I am. But if you are sick of just doing social media, are you sick of it because you think you're not very good at it? Are you sick of it because it takes effort? Are you sick of it because you can't think of anything else to do? There'll be a reason. There's that questioning technique, isn't there, about asking the same question 7 times? And you
Like the
can
5
say,
whys.
is it
Like,
yeah, is it
yeah.
5? I thought it was 7. I've been asking myself too many questions. But you're like, "Oh, I don't wanna do this. Why?" "Well, I'm tired." "Why?" "Because you're putting too much energy to," and drill down into why it is. I think that sometimes helps you identify, is it a personal can't be bothered, or you think you're really bad at it, or it goes down to an insecurity, or is it bad because you don't think it's going to get you anywhere? If so, if
Mm.
it is not going to get you anywhere, then change tact. You know, you need to identify why you're doing it, and if it is not going to get you the outcome you want, then you need to change that what you're doing. I don't know if that answered that at all.
It did, absolutely, Rachel. And what you're making me think of, the challenge I'm facing as well at the moment is it's like it's finding the right amount of want. Because if you need to obviously want your business to be successful, but if you want it too badly, sometimes
Yeah.
it can slip through your fingers. And
Mm.
what I've found is if you obsess over, for example, social media posts, and you spend hours every day crafting them, and you never switch off and you never stop thinking about social media, what can start off being a joy in your business and really fun, eventually the joy can be zapped out of it, and it can become a chore, or it can become a really hateful task.
Yes.
And I've personally found that challenge of knowing when to go all in on the business and when to put myself into it and, work really hard on it, and also knowing when to pause and stop and step back and
Mm.
take time away from the business, and like physically and mentally switch off by doing something else, not necessarily
Yeah.
sitting down or sleeping, but like going and occupying your mind and your body with like sport or
Mm.
a hobby. I've And then the key thing is not feeling guilty that you're not working. And that
Yes.
for me has been a constant battle this year.
Yeah. Do you find though, that the times when you're able to, I saw something the other day that mentioned about the times where you're able to be creative, and when you can allow your brain to get into that creative space, is when you're doing something that is kind of autopilot, that is not. So like if you were scrolling on your phone, yes, you're doing it on autopilot, but you're concentrating on what you're scrolling at. Whereas if you're doing some ironing, or you're doing some washing at home, or you're going out for a bike ride, you're not particularly thinking too much about the task you're doing. You're allowing your brain to wander into that space. And I feel that sometimes, and it's hard for me to do, but I feel like that sometimes helps you to make decisions without sitting down and thinking, I need to make a decision here.
Mm. Not being so overly focused on it that you can't
Yeah.
possibly see the wood for the trees. Because
Yes.
it's being open, isn't it? There's several ways of getting from A to B in a business, and it's not necessarily directly, and it's not being too attached to the exact outcome and the way you see it happening. It's being
Mm.
open to alternative ways of getting to the destination,
Yes.
which is quite a nice segue to solo travel, or in
Yes.
your case, travel with a friend.
Another, yes.
The A another, but the point is, I wanted to ask you, what role has travel played in your journey to becoming who you are today and doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So that time where, so I never did uni, and I never did travel in my early 20s. I was so frightened with my anxiety. I was so frightened of getting on a plane or going somewhere or being out of my comfort zone, and not being happy in my ability to be able to handle a situation abroad.
Mm.
So I actually did the travel thing after I was going to do a management buyout. I ended up leaving that business and giving all my share options back, and saying to my partner at the time, look, I got a nose piercing. I learned how to play the guitar. We went to Thailand for a month, which was lovely. And then we ended up going to Italy for 6 months. And I went from the rat race, earning quite a good wage, being a respected member of a company that I'd been for 12 years. I was senior management. I managed 40 people, and I left there. I left my mortgage. I left responsibilities of stepchildren, and I went and lived in a caravan for 6 months with hardly any money coming in whatsoever. And it gave me a massive sense of appreciation, um, of what was important in life. And I think sometimes setting up your own business is really scary, because a lot of people go from really responsible jobs, careers, comfortable money, comfortable earnings, responsibilities outside of their job, home responsibilities, kids, family. And that time for me really taught me that regardless of what situation you're in, you will be okay, and you'll be able to see the good in it. So I learned that I could definitely see the positive in situations and leave everything monetary and possession wise behind, and know that I was going to be okay regardless of it. So now later on, 10 years later or 8 years later in life, when I think I'm going to leave a full-time job where I'm earning a decent wage and I'm getting pension contributions and they pay me to go on holiday, to go, oh, I'm just going to set my own business up, isn't as scary, because I learned that. Yeah. Did you learn a similar thing, or a completely different thing when you traveled?
I absolutely did, and I could relate to everything you were saying there, because I definitely tied my identity on the measure of success, which was good job, of a good, good job title, good
Yeah.
salary, nice car, living in a nice area, having 2 or 3 holidays a year, and it was, that societal definition of success, and I identified as David the IT professional,
Yeah.
and you know and enjoyed the benefits that came with that. But it got to the point where I was chasing and chasing and chasing this definition of success that didn't fill me up anymore. It felt
Mhm.
like an empty, like a hollow victory, almost
Mhm.
like a win by default. It was
Yes.
quite deflating, and I was thinking, what am I actually striving for here? What am I working towards? What's this all about?
Yeah.
And I just got feeling more and more disconnected from my day-to-day life, and I felt like there must be more, there must be something different. So
Mm.
through going traveling on a similar experience to you, I realized that the worst case scenario that we all fear, you lose your job, you haven't got your car, you haven't got all your possessions, it's it's not as horrifying
Yeah.
as you think it might be, and
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. Obviously, choosing to do it is much more pleasant than having it inflicted on you.
Yeah.
I've been made redundant. I know what that process is like. You you get knocked down, you pick yourself up again, and then you carry on and you
Mm.
find another job elsewhere. The worst case scenario that we all fear so badly isn't that we all fear so much, and we're running so quickly away from it. It's not as scary as you think it is. And like you say, you don't need half as many things in life to be happy,
No.
especially when all those things come at the expense of your health. Then what
Mhm.
good is that?
Absolutely. I remember it was probably within a year, the year running up to me leaving. Um, I'd been sent home ill for a week, which I fought against, but they could obviously see me crumbling under some pressure. There was a lot of pressure. There were a lot of changes happening. I was probably very naive. As a, I'd been there for years, so it was like misplaced. They end up feeling like a family, the businesses sometimes. So it was actually misplaced loyalties. My loyalties should have been at home, should have been with my friends and my family and my partner, and they were spread thinly between both. Um, I remember my boss at one point asking me, did I want a family or did I want a business? Like there was no, they couldn't run side by side. You wanted this or you want that. And I felt like that was a choice that was given to me. And I didn't know I was people pleasing that much. I was just stuck between, well, am I pleasing home or am I pleasing work? Am I doing a good job in either? And I ended up doing a good job in neither, and just being like, right, these all need to go to get back to understanding what I want. And I actually went, talking about, I was mentioning about my anxiety. I went on the plane to Thailand initially. I'd gone to the doctors prior. I knew I needed to do it, but I'd gone to the doctors prior because I was that nervous about flying. They ended up giving me diazepam for the plane to try to, and I've never done any drugs. So I was like, wow, I've got to take some drugs. That scares me. You know, like I was worried about taking the drugs to stop the anxiety. And I've been to we've got a family friend who's an acupuncturist, and she'd put seeds in my ears. You know, they're like the stress reliever ones that you can press. I was in that much of a disconnect with myself and my body and my mind and what I wanted and what I didn't, that even at 30, probably 30, 31, 32, maybe I was absolutely petrified to go traveling, you know, to go somewhere that was supposed to be exciting and a journey. I found it just scary, absolutely scary. And now that I've kind of come past that, and I don't have that anymore, and I don't have that fear, my brain now is like, right, where shall we go? What shall we do? Where are we going now? And we bought a camper last year, and we're setting off. We were just mentioning, weren't we, having a plan, but not really needing a plan. We're going to Europe, which is quite a loose plan, isn't
A
it?
loose plan.
It's quite loose. We know we're probably going to do Dover, Calais, because we were going to just drop into northern France. We'll probably book the first night in France, and then I think from there you meet people, don't you? And they say, "Oh, you need to go to this. You need to go to Austria. You need to go to these campsites right at the bottom of this mountain, and there's this lake, and da da da." And I think that's what we want to experience, because I think if you plan things too much, you'll end up doing that, which is probably not the path you're supposed to take. So we're booking the first night, and then from there we're just gonna wing it. So we're going 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about that.
Thanks, Rachel. I'm just in that story you mentioned there. The question that's on that I have to ask you is, you had to be medicated to get on that plane to Thailand.
Oh
You've
yeah,
seen acupuncturist, you got some diazepam,
yeah.
and I can't pronounce it, and you know, no one was forcing you to go.
No,
You could have easily, I'm guessing you could have easily have not gone. But
yeah.
what made you push through that tremendously difficult, barrier of getting to Thailand and facing this journey that could have been awful?
Mm.
What made you do it?
I always so I've had the anxiety I've had has stopped me getting on planes. It's not a I'm scared of dying, weirdly. It's the feeling of like claustrophobia, I suppose, of when they're so if I'm sat on a plane, and sometimes I get flashbacks of it, and I've just got to think, no, you don't do that anymore, Rachel. But I was sat on a plane one time going to Ireland, and as they were shutting the doors, in my head was screaming, get up, shout at them, tell them to, and all I was wanting to do was going, stop, let me off. Can you imagine? Oh God! But that in my brain, that is what my head is doing. And so it's not that I'm worried about the plane crashing. I'm not worried about it dying. It's the being stuck in a situation I can't control, probably. It's probably a
Mm,
control freak type of scenario. And what I always wanted to push through was the fact that I knew it was my head controlling me. So it was the fear in my head that was controlling me. Um, and the only way I knew to control it back or push back on it was to do it. Whatever it was telling me that it was really scared of was to do it. And I thought the only way of pushing through and it not being as bad is to do the scariest thing I could think of. Like you said, once you've identified that thing is not as scary as you think it is, it quietens down in your brain. And so I think it was just keeping doing it until I wasn't scared of it anymore. Like eating sprouts. I used to hate sprouts, and I just ate them every Christmas until I relented and thought, oh, I love sprouts now.
I like it. I like what and what was the payoff of doing the scariest thing you could think of then?
It liberation. It's the freedom. It's the that doesn't control me anymore. That is not as bad. And it's the confidence in your own ability to be able to cope with that situation. So I will be fine in any situation because I'm confident in my own abilities to be able to be okay. I will figure out a way of being okay. It will be fine. And it's the liberation of kind of having the confidence in that and in yourself to be able to do it.
It's such an important life lesson. People say, "Oh, I'd like to go and do that thing, but I'm not confident enough to." It's like
Yeah,
you don't become confident and then do the thing. You have to do the thing and grow the confidence in the process. The confidence comes as a result of doing it, not
mm,
the other way round. And
yes,
for travel, don't really think anything can prepare you. You have to just go for it and take a leap of faith and jump in with both feet and see what happens and kind of just muddle your way through.
yes. And I think that's the same with business. You know, if the guy had have come to me, John, bless him, and said, "Why don't we help you set up your own business?" And if I'd have not thought about it and gone, "Nah," because I didn't have it all figured out or I didn't have it worked out, um, if I'd have thought of it as a whole, like, and had every bit planned out, I'd have never have. You wouldn't start anything. So
Mm.
you've got to go with a bit of a gut or go with a bit of an inkling, and then just know that you'll work stuff out as and when. And I am now more confident having a year in business, just over on my own. I'm a lot more confident in my ability to be able to sort something out. Um, and in my ability, my drive, my determination, my consistency, my resilience. I've got a lot more confidence in that, which if you'd have asked me, honestly, if you'd have asked me 15, 16 months ago, you would not recognize me. You know, I've not drunk a drop of alcohol since January. 2 years before, I was probably not alcoholic, but I was a bottle of wine a night. You know, the change in my life, in my health, in my mindset, in my healing of whatever needed to be healed, it was you would not have recognized me, David. I promise. I was like unrecognizable compared to where I was a couple of years ago.
Wow. Wow. There's a testimony to going traveling and
Yes.
starting your own business and looking after your health and looking after yourself. And if there's, someone listening thinking, wow, I'm really impressed by Rachel, which I'm sure many, if everyone listening will be, and thinking, so I'm really interested in finding out more about these vitamins and if they're for me, am I eligible for these vitamins? What can you tell us a bit more about what your specific product is and how
Yeah.
people can get hold of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, the model um, that we wanted to set up was as easy as possible for people. So, you see a lot of people generally sell now on TikTok or social media, and it's all faddy stuff. And that is not what I wanted a business to be. I wanted it to be a trustworthy business, and a business that people put their trust in, that
Mm.
knew they were getting. It ticked all the boxes. Basically, it was eco-conscious, it was high quality, it was made in the UK, it had no nasties in. And it was the good product. And I wanted that to be as easy as possible for people. So they decided that we were great, that they wanted to put their trust in us, and that we then ship it to them on a monthly basis. So for busy women that don't need another thing to think about, and that their health is so often at the bottom of the priority list, and I'm sure you're a bloody lovely husband, David. But we find sometimes that the women do a lot of the organising of the home, and because of that, we often get put to the bottom of the pile.
Mhm.
So we do a subscription service, which is posted through your letterbox. It's a pouch, and it comes posted through your letterbox each month. So you get your starter kit, which is the bottle, which I've showed you before, the biophotonic glass bottle. And then each month you get a pouch which refills into that bottle. So it can be ordered through the website, and they get a bit of a discount when it's postage off, basically, if they subscribe on a monthly basis. It's got all 13 vitamins in that people need on a daily basis. It's in capsule form, so it's easily absorbed. And then it has 2 extra things in, which is for the brain function and hormone regulation. Now, I do often get asked a question, can men take them? And absolutely, they can take them. Choline is found a lot in eggs, and it's great for brain health. And obviously, men are allowed to eat eggs. I think, have we allowed that these days? I think we do. And then the inositol is something that's in male bodies as well. It's not a vitamin. It's a sugar actually, but it is great for hormone regulation. And obviously, men have hormones. So yes, I devised it for women. To get that extra bit of support for the brain and hormones. However, I have my fella takes it religiously daily. Of course he does, because I just keep topping them up for him. And also my sister's fella takes them all the time, and they've both said that they feel a lot calmer with it. And I wonder whether or not that's the testosterone kind of regulation as well. It helps with that side of things. So yes, that's Vigor Essential. They can go onto the website, or they can find me on, I'm everywhere, LinkedIn, Insta, TikTok, Facebook.
Yeah, we'll get some links in there. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm intrigued. And once again, it's a very inspiring story of someone who you were looking for a product that wasn't out there yet. So you've taken the initiative to create that product on your terms, with all the morals and the ethics and the values aligned with your own. And you do genuinely love it. You do genuinely have a passion for it. And there's no just about it. You're putting all your effort into it, all your energy, and you're adding value to the world and the marketplace by creating a product that wasn't previously there. Not in the way that you're doing it. So I take my hat off to you. I really admire you for what you're doing. And again, it's so inspiring to meet someone who's been traveling and had that wake up call and that realization of, oh my goodness, I only have one life. I need to live it and enjoy it. And I want to create something and do something on my own terms. I can really relate to that. And I can totally relate to the challenges of doing that. It is in many ways, it's the path of the most resistance, and it's the hardest possible way to make money. But it is fulfilling, and it feels valuable, and it feels like it matters, more than doing a job that you don't really enjoy, just collecting a paycheck and feeling like you're going through the motions. And not everyone is lucky enough to do what we've done. But I take my hat off to you for doing it. And I know you're working your job as well alongside the business, and you're doing what it takes to make a success of it. But I genuinely wish you every single success along the way.
Thank you. It's very kind. Thank you, David. Yeah, it's very rewarding when you get women messaging and sending testimonials through, and ladies with polycystic ovary syndrome that have struggled with not having regular periods and pain. And I got a message from one of my ladies, and she'd said it was about 2 or 3 days in, and she said, I've had a period, and she'd not had a period for months. And she says, I don't know if it's related, but 2 or 3 days in, it's got to be a coincidence after taking them. I've had people that say they've felt pre-menopausal with taking them. It's helped with the brain fog, and it's helped with, the hormone up and down. People that have more energy, and that's got to be what it's all about, hasn't it? If you're helping people and you believe in the product, and other people believe in your product, then it's got to be a worthwhile, deserving thing to put your time into. So it's good.
I agree. I've had people say, you've saved my business, you've saved my passion. I've had one person say, you've saved my marriage, and I had another one say, essentially, you've saved my life, because it's made such a difference, and that makes it worth it. And that makes me think, even if I stopped tomorrow and went and did something completely different, it will have always been worth it. So it pays you back in more than just a monetary way.
It does. And I'm bringing a collagen out. I'd like to invite you actually to the launch event, David, if you'd join us in Skipton in September. I'll send you some details. But I've created a collagen product, which you get like marine or you get the bovine one. And I've done a combination of them because, again, it was a product that wasn't out on the market. One is good for skin, hair, nails. The other one is good for internal joints and bones. And there wasn't one that did both. So I've put both of them together, and that will be launching in September. And we're going to have a launch event to thank all my ladies that have been customers and things. So I know you're not a lady customer, but I would really love you to be there. If you'd join us, that would be lovely.
Thanks, Rachel. And it says it all there. You know, we're having a launch event to thank all of my lovely ladies that have been customers. What a humble thing to say. And yeah, that summarizes you and how genuine and passionate and thoroughly marvelous you are. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a delight. I've really enjoyed it. I knew it was going to be a good one, and we must do it again sometime when you've released some new products.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you for having me, David. It's been lovely.
The Solo Coach Podcast.